Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Awesome 80s Podcast. This is Michael.
I didn't do the thing Nathan wants me to do. There it is.
Yeah, there we go. The thing with the poof. Like I tried to do the poof last week. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Awesome 80s Podcast. This is Michael.
This is Lawrence. Hi, Michael.
We spent the money on the logo, Glenn.
I know. I thought I had it set. Now I'm Jones.
Thanks very much, Fiverr. If you got an idea for something to be created, it's already out there on Fiverr. Somebody can just do it for you
For $5.
for $5.
Dude, I don't even want to get yelled at tonight by MF Jones.
The movie I made, My Love Story to You, the Russian guy, I got that on Fiverr. I had a Russian voiceover.
Nice.
All right.
How are you tonight?
I'm pretty good.
Great night in political history, possibly.
It's. I think this, much like the OJ trial, this is going to be the most exciting, I think, ever as far as like presidential thing in our lifetime, as far as election goes.
Well, we'll find out.
I mean, the Republican side, the Democrat, it's exciting.
I just want Reagan and Bush to win.
4 more years, Glenn.
This is actually a hat purchased by MH, so I gotta give him credit because it's his purchase, not mine.
Is it his or is it for you?
Well, he wore it, and then I don't know if he gave it to me.
It was part of my what was that? The
a white trash bash costume.
Oh, okay.
Somehow I acquired it, whether he gave it to me or I took it, I don't remember.
I mean, I will gift you the $396 hat. That's not a big deal.
He gifted it to me.
Everyone loves this season of election, but we wanted to give a special thanks to all our new likes on Facebook and Twitter followers. Next week's show, we're going to talk about Space Camp and the unfortunate incidents in 1986. And the week after that, we're going to do The Princess Bride, As You Wish. But we did also want to have a special thanks to Doiner and Bobby Joe and all other the Patreon supporters out there. John C. And all our other Cub fan friends that we have come to visit, have come to visit us, hearing us on the IVMV podcast. Just thanks for coming out. If you heard us on IVMV, we're the Chicago sports podcast. We talk about the Cubs one week, and we're going to talk about the Bears.
Well, we are so much more than the Chicago sports podcast, but just so happens we did just guest on that episode of IVMV. I hear record numbers.
Record numbers for all. Gordon, he wants us to do like a spillover episode, like stuff from the 70s that was on reruns during the 80s. Like I was thinking like Jefferson's or like Three's Company or One Day at a Time. Also like game shows, like when you're sick at home and you're thinking of like this. I'm watching 70s stuff, but it is the 80s.
Yeah, actually, here's the thing. If you're a fan of us, it's like a Friday, Saturday night. You email us. We're probably going to have like a 2-hour conversation with you, apparently, because that's apparently the kind of lives we live.
Well, what are you doing?
We had a very nice chat with Gordon the other night.
Yeah.
It was really nice. We got some good info, some good ideas from our listeners. We got a very nice fan mail. I don't know if you saw it from our friend Jamie from Iowa.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jamie. It was very nice. We appreciate your praise, and we were glad that you like the new setups. It's been a while since you had listened, and we're happy that you enjoy what we've done to upgrade.
I want to talk about. Go ahead.
Big thanks to D Rose. Always appreciate the positive reinforcement that we get from D Rose and Superfan Casey as well. Got some great feedback from our last episode from Casey today.
The superfan Aaron S., other superfan Aaron S., and of course Mr. Rizzo. Have you seen the new X-Files yet?
Yeah, I watched the first episode.
Okay.
I'm a fan, I think.
Do you remember when the government hacking into our lives was like a science fiction thing?
Yeah.
now it's like this real thing.
Real thing that happens.
Yes, that's a real thing that happens now. So X-Files dealt with a lot of conspiracies and like dark theories. There's a new podcast out there I've been listening to, and they do like a comedic take, kind of like the Lone Gunman kind of situation. Where it's called Chamber of Reflection. It's very funny. They take like a comedic view on other people's conspiracy theories, like the moon landing, JFK, Obama being a lizard.
What if I'm a truther to a lot of things?
Well, whatever. I told them they should probably do. I think maybe they should do The Paul is Dead next, like that from the Beatles. Everyone says he died.
Oh, right.
I think that'd be a good one.
You
Go ahead.
You mentioned some things we have coming up. Also, around the end of March, we're going to make our pilgrimage to Dallas and WrestleMania, and we have a very special guest we hope lined up. I don't want to jinx it, but pretty excited about it. If you're just a regular wrestling fan, you won't be familiar with this person. If you are more of a hardcore fan, you will. But very excited about it. He brings lots of knowledge, and if it doesn't happen, I'll probably cry. But we'll talk about it as we get closer. We got to work out some logistics, but I'm pumped. I'm very pumped about this potential guest.
I currently have 2/5 of my costume ready to go.
I can't wait. Do you want to buy a Reagan Bush hat? I'll give it to you at cost, $25.
I've got a Gulf War I Desert Storm hat if you want to buy that.
No, I actually have a Gulf War I jacket that I can't fit into. Maybe you can. Just I've got a collection of like stuff to use in movies. That might be a pretty awesome thing. And I still do have one of your Corey jackets as well. Yeah, you gonna have that cleaned?
Well, I'll dry clean it.
All right.
I might add some more shoulder things to it too.
That's fine. Whatever you want to do.
Okay.
So we have a couple. Well, this is a pod short, and we had a couple anniversaries that happened in the same week, 30 years ago, and we thought you wanted to address them. I thought that was not a bad idea at all. But then we managed to turn the second 30th anniversary, which will take place, you mentioned, next week with Space Camp. You turned it into an actual movie because we have Space Camp, The Unfortunate Adventure, or The Unfortunate Incident, I think you called it.
As far as like seeing unfortunate things happen on live television, or at least near live television, that was pretty intense for like a 7-year-old kid, you know?
It was very, very intense.
We'll talk about it then.
So there's another anniversary that took place, I guess, last week. It's going to be celebrated this week on Thursday with the 30 for 30 on ESPN, and you wanted to talk about it. And I said, that sounds like a great idea. Because we're the Awesome 80s, and we're a shuffling crew. We're moving it down, and we're doing it for you. Now, if you are not from the Midwest, as many of you aren't, you may not, or you're younger, you may not be impacted by the monsters of the Midway, the 1985-86 Chicago Bears. But this is the 30th anniversary of them winning their first and only Super Bowl to date. And we thought we'd give a talk about it because it actually has a lot of pop culture significance throughout the 80s. Even though they only won 1 year, they were kind of the team for a while. Now, you know my Jersey game's tight.
Yeah.
And I know your Jersey game's fairly tight. So I'm sitting there thinking, at least from a Bears perspective, and I'm sitting there tonight and I'm like, he's going to wear that Jim McMahon jersey. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to wear the authentic, not the one with the name on the back, because they didn't 1985-86 William Perry jersey. But then I was like, no, I'm going to go deep cut. I'm going Dennis McKinnon.
Okay.
Punt returner, third down extraordinaire.
I thought you were going to have Matsui. I was like, he's going to wear Matsui.
You know, I don't have one. That's like the one. That's like the dream.
It's the holy grail of obscure Bears jerseys.
I found one, and me and the guy have gone back and forth on it, and one day I'll win.
Oh, you told me about it before. Like,
I'm not giving it.
It's a Matsui jersey. Come on, man. What are you doing?
And I know it's not authentic. Most jerseys you buy now, they're throwback jerseys. They're not like
from that time period.
This one is the Wilsons. It's got the sand knit.
Oh, that's good. That's sand nice. Knit. That is nice.
Sand knit means it's not comfortable.
Yeah, that's itchy and not comfortable.
Horrible. But this is Dennis McKinnon, who I met at a Van Til's grocery store signing autographs in 1987. And it was one of the happiest days of my childhood. So I love this jersey, and I love that I get to wear it here. Oh, yeah. Sand knit there. Woo. All right.
Yeah, I've got like most of my stuff's throwback, but I got like a real Dawson one. It was pretty cheap. I was able to get it.
A real one? What one?
A Dawson one.
Oh yeah.
Because at that time period, it would have been Wilson, right? Yeah, it would have been a Wilson jersey.
Yeah. Yep.
But I guess to me, like my major introduction to the Bears was just like my dad. Like I keep thinking about that scene in Invincible where like Barky Mark's on the porch and he's talking to his dad about, and his dad went to the same shitty job that his grandpa went to, and it's like that's like my grandpa. He went to the same shitty job my dad went to. And it's talking about like just that team, like that. It was like that 46 Eagles team or something. And he kept talking about how that gave him the energy to go to work every day. And you're like, oh God, that is sad. But then you're like, I think that's what my dad does. Like he loves the Bears. Like we've got a foster daughter. He went and visited her for the Madrigal this Christmas season. He's like, I miss a Bears football game. I don't even remember the last time I missed a Bears football game for this. So I thought it was kind of cool. But I mean, like for me though, like wearing a Bears shirt or like a Bears jacket, it's like wearing one of those T-shirts from the mall where they've got pictures of people with their parents, and like to me, like that's what it's like wearing like a Bears something. You know, it's like a picture of me and my dad together.
So let's talk about why the '85 Bears were important in not just Chicago, but like how they kind of captured the attention of the nation there for at least 1 year. And many people believe that should have been a dynasty. It did not happen. There are lots of reasons that we won't talk about because this is not a Chicago Bears podcast. This is an 80s podcast. And we want to talk about the significance within pop culture. So the Bears were always kind of like this tough, defensive, hard luck team. Dick Butkus from 80s lore would be he was the bartender in My Two Dads. Or
Bronco Nagurski.
But, you know, they were these hard-nosed, like you said, blue-collar guys. And they never really had a win once in the Super Bowl era. They were owned by Papa Bear George Halas, who owned them from the beginning. They started as the Decatur Staleys in 1919. Anyone who's ever been to Decatur, Illinois, knows why they only lasted a year.
One thing that DITKA said before the Super Bowl was that they're playing for the Grabowskis. Like it's
right.
Working class people.
Working class people. And the Bears. You know, it was done a couple years after the Super Bowl. They were kind of the Saturday Night Live skit kind of brought that into light, made them kind of a national thing. Like the Bears, we're fat Chicagoans. We drink beer and we eat sausage and we have heart attacks. Like that's what people what the Bears represented to a lot of, I think a lot of the national media.
Heart attacks are a serious thing, but the more you think about it, when DITKA had his heart attack, it was just fantastic.
It was perfect.
It was like, well, what else? I mean, he worked so hard. He worked himself into a heart attack.
Yeah. So they were coached by, like you said, Mike DITKA, the Bears, Mike DITKA, classic hard-nosed coach, was a player for the Bears, and then coach in Dallas.
He played under George Halas, the guy that pretty much invented the professional form of football, and then he studied under Tom Landry. So I mean, he has got a pretty good pedigree.
His pedigree is pretty awesome. So this was like the big thing, you know. I mean, this was the year. So they had Walter Payton, who traditionally was like the best running back of all time. But he always played
those teams in the 70s. Those teams in the 70s weren't all that good.
They were horrible. They were losers, and so he always played for like a losing team. But, you know, this was his chance. They drafted for a few years on defense. They got a lot of great defense. They had a high-profile quarterback, Jim McMahon, who was the punky QB. Like, he was the kid who got drafted out of the Mormon school, but, like, always wore sunglasses. Was kind
of like he showed up with a beer to sign his contract for the Bears.
Yeah.
We got drafted.
And so, like, he kind of brought the party element to it. And then you had a bunch of defensive guys, and that's what they were known for. You had the monsters of the Midway, they were known as. And they took this place in pop culture and commercial. They were instantly commercialized. They had William the Refrigerator Perry, who was just this big fat guy who smiled a lot, and people loved him. So then he's on, you know, he's got all these commercial deals. So all of a sudden, this losing team in the third biggest TV market is getting all this attention and going to come out. And so in 85, 86, they're like, we're going to do this. We're not going to lose at all. And we're going to be the best damn team that we can be. So Sweetness, Walter Payton, the punky QB, Jim McMahon, Iron Mike Singletary, Smooth Willie Galt, I mean, they had all the names. They had the cool nicknames. So what do you think made them what made them more famous than other teams?
I would definitely say, I mean, the mixture of McMahon, Walter Payton, and the Refrigerator Perry. I mean, you couldn't dream up a better marketing three people. Like those are the three jerseys I got. I'm not like Glenn. I'm sorry. Like for me, it's like the Cubs are probably number one and the Bears are probably number two. I do not. I mean, I love them, but I don't want to get emotionally involved with them. I don't want to wake up at 3 a.m. thinking about, do you want Dexter Fowler? I'm like, well, if he's willing to play if he's willing to play off the bench for the Cubs, I'm totally fine with that. But I don't think he's willing to take that kind of position. But I mean, but for the Bears, I'm only willing to wake up at 3 a.m. for one team. So, okay. But I think as far as, I mean, to build this thing up, like Halas had to go after DITKA. He went and got DITKA. Like when DITKA began coaching for the Dallas Cowboys, he was like, he wrote a letter to George Halas and said, I want that job. I'm not ready for it yet, but I want that job. And then, of course, when he gets there, there's Buddy Ryan. Like, this thing does not happen without Buddy Ryan in charge of that defense.
Who's Buddy Ryan?
He was a sergeant in the Korean War at the age of 19. He developed the 46 defense. I was named after Doug Plank, the strong safety. Like, what his thing was just get the most out of the best people possible. Like, when you look back at this team, you look back at all the footage, like, everybody on defense was like Urlacher. Like, in modern day, like every single person on defense, they're quick, they're fat, except for William the Refrigerator Perry. Like they're strong, they're fast, they can play multiple positions. Like if you ask them to change positions right in the middle of the, like before the whistle go, I mean before the football snap, they can change positions and just go. Like they were interchangeable parts.
So when do you first remember watching the Bears?
Probably like 83 or 84.
Oh.
I remember my dad going to the game, like, because the Cubs were on, and then they announced that they lost while my dad was at the football game. So he went to the Bears game, and that's when Walter Payton broke the rushing record. It was like the day the Cubs were eliminated from the playoffs against the Padres. So I remember watching that game.
No, your dad, he's been on the podcast before. You know, he's a Bear fan. He's got the mustache. He's got the hat, the jacket.
The lunch pail.
He kind of talks, kind of has that accent a little bit. I don't know. Dad is like a Bear fan. Like you can just see it. I grew up in a house where I think I've talked about this before in various podcasts where sports were on the TV, like secondary. But I was, I think, the driving force for my family to become sports fans. So I remember watching in '85, and that was probably the first year that I became a Bears fan, or I was old enough to grasp football, and not even that well. Like '86, I was, from that point on, that was like my launching pad, just because that was at the age where I mostly get it. But I remember the Super Bowl, the Bears Super Bowl, getting to go to my dad's friend's house, which was like a big deal just because, I never got to go to my dad when he went to his friend's house. And they were watching it. And I remember I had to call my mom at halftime because Stevie Wonder was doing the halftime show. And I just called to say I love you. So I called my mom and I'm like, Stevie Wonder's doing the halftime show. And my parents probably don't even remember this, but I will never forget that memory of watching that game at my dad's friend's house and just being so pumped when they won. And from then on, so from 86 to 90, my mom, I think, gave it to me after she did it for 2 years. I know you've seen this. She made a scrapbook of every Bears game that took place after the Super Bowl all the way up until 88, and then I did it from 88 to 90. And I've had multiple 85 Bears sign it, and they all stop and look through it. And I got to wear Kevin Butler's Super Bowl ring.
We went to the when the Bears played in Champaign for that 1 year. We went and had 4 different Bears, and was it Morrison? I think it was Morrison. You went up to him with the book, and then and he's just he pushed everybody else aside, and he's just going through the book. You could see the moments of his life were just flashy, and he's like, I remember this. I remember everybody else is next. But with you, he's like, give me that book. This is
DITKA did that, and then I met Kevin Butler with your parents.
Yeah, my dad was in line with you.
Yeah, and I wore it. It was at the Julasco about 5-6 years ago, and I got to wear his ring. And then he's like looking through the book, and like I called my mom right after because it's still one of the best gifts anyone's ever given to me. And I'm just like, Kevin Butler signed the book, and we always called him Butthead in our house because that was his lovable nickname. Well, Kevin Butler signed the book, and she's like, well, did you see if you want to like go to dinner or something when he's done? I'm like, no. I felt so weird, but I was like, well, why didn't I? Like, what's the worst he would have said? But I felt, he just wanted to get back to Chicago, and he was talking about how he was out till 4 a.m. that morning with Jim McMahon. So all these years later, he's still partying with Jim McMahon till 4 a.m. I don't know. It's just like that team just kind of captivated not just Chicago, but I think a nation because their defense was the best defense.
But the offensive players, I mean, even Refrigerator Perry was a carryover into the offense, but I feel like that was what brought people into the stadium, but what made the team win was their defense.
Right, and I want to make this like an 80s podcast. I want us to try to incorporate like their effects into pop culture because I don't just want this to be a couple Bears fans like sitting
Bear
around.
down, go Bears.
Go Bears. Remember when the Bears were good? So I think the first thing you really have to hit on, their biggest impact was the Super Bowl Shuffle. To my knowledge, and there could be other teams, they were like one of the first teams who went out there and like recorded their own song. Very cockily predicting they'd win the Super Bowl. They released that months before.
Yeah.
That song like was everywhere. I remember we had to go to like 4 different record stores on a Sunday evening. My dad's calling around to like get the 45 of that, which we still have in my parents' jukebox. But they basically made a rap song with some jazz and some rock all mixed in. Just talk about how they're going to win the Super Bowl.
He was a dancer. I think he and his wife went on Soul Train. They were dancers on Soul Train together.
Who was?
Walter Payton.
Walter Payton. And Willie Gault was a dancer. Like, Willie Gault did ballet. My mom was always like, you should do ballet. Willie Gault does ballet. Because on Saturday mornings in Chicago, we always had, like, the More You Know commercial, but localized. And it was, like, Willie Gault talking about, like, being a ballet dancer. And my mom was like, you should sign up. And I kind of wanted to, but then, like, I just chickened out. I wish I wouldn't have. But I have no grace. So maybe that would have given me grace.
Have you heard Here's to You, Men in Blue? Jody Davis sings it with Rick Sutcliffe.
Yes, I've heard.
It was a song in '84, and I guess that's what they got the idea for. They're like, if they can market the shitty Cubs team, then of course we're the Bears and we're Super Bowl bound, and we can make a song that's better than the Cubs song. So that's what they got the idea. It was like, if they can market that song, we can market our song for charity or whatever. I mean, good publicity, but I mean, they could do it mostly for charity too.
Yeah. If you have never heard the song, or if it's been a while, and I'm sure on the audio version you'll probably loop it in, but if you're on the video version, YouTube it. Look it up. It's a classic, and you got the saxophone. I mean, it was.
There was. Did you see the Rams? They've got a song that like the Super Bowl Shuffle, but it's called "Ram It."
Yeah,
and it's. I don't see how that's not homosexual at all. Like how that. I mean, especially the homoeroticism of football, and then you've got people saying "Ram It," and they get their face gets in the screen, and they're like, "Ram it, ram." Sorry, I'm sorry.
So there's a guy because the Panthers are in the Super Bowl this week. Another reason why we're doing.
I've heard of it. I've heard of them.
And this one lone guy, I don't know the name of the song, or I don't remember his name, but you can Google it. Made his own like rap song, and it's the worst thing that's ever happened, which means it's kind of the best thing that's ever happened.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Real quick, the Bears made the Super Bowl one other time in our lifetime, and since MH is bored sitting on the couch, I'm going to bring him in real quick. So they were playing the Colts in 2006. NFL Network has a great Colts 2006 special I just watched out there this week. And they were playing the Colts. Now, MH here is a huge Colts fan because that's his area of the country. So we watched that game, but we didn't want to watch it with anyone else. Like, we didn't want unnecessary distractions. So we sat side by side. He had his Colts regalia. I had my Bears regalia. And I remember when Devin Hester scored the opening touchdown, like I kind of jumped up and maybe was a little like too happy because I was like, this is it. We're destined. We can't lose. But we had it was a very friendly game. And I remember when Rex Grossman threw the final interception that basically sealed it down. I was very happy for him because, as I was telling Jake the other day, if I couldn't win, I'm glad he did. Was that your first Colts Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah.
So I gladly took pictures, like with stuff through my Bears regalia, like tape, and he had his construction hat, his Colts construction hat. So I mean, that was like the second chance. But I remember, even when I was little, I remember how happy I was from the 85-86 one. So I was very happy for MH to get his chance at a Super Bowl.
That was a fun evening.
It was a lot of fun. Like, I wasn't mad. I was disappointed, but I wasn't mad at all, like, at the loss, because sports is something that should be shared with friends. And if you have a friend, unless they're a Cardinal fan, that's I will never be happy for a Cardinal fan. But
I wanted to bring this up. In the world, there are people like where we live that are Cardinal fans and Bear fans. How do you feel about this?
That's fair. Only because St. Louis didn't have a football team for so many years. And they don't have one again. So I'm like not against that. I mean, it is what, right now, St. Louis, I was thinking about this the other day, is an open market for the Colts, for the Chiefs, and the Bears to get down there and try to market to, try to get new fans down there.
Even Tennessee.
Yeah. So, like, I don't think people should be deprived of a football team if they want one. And if you're not lucky enough to have one in your city or your immediate area, then, you have to search elsewhere. For an example,
go ahead.
MH, grew up in an area where there wasn't a local baseball team, and he had several options. He went with the family team where his grandpa, I believe, was a fan.
No.
Who's a
My
fan?
grandfather was a diehard Cubs fan.
Why did you end up with the Braves?
Dale Murphy.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I thought it was your grandpa.
No.
So,
also a Mormon, like Jim McMahon.
yeah. So Dale, he found a player he liked as a child, and he went to a team outside of his area. And if you're, if you're in that one of those free agent pockets where there's no team like right there, you're free to choose. So I don't have problems if Cardinal fans
Especially with baseball, when you had a superstation, it's either like TBS or WGN. There's also people that like the Packers, but they also like the Cubs. How do you feel about that?
See, I don't like that. And I really don't like Cardinal Packer fans. Like, I really hate those.
That's like a perfect storm of father-in-law right there.
What?
It's a perfect storm of father-in-law right there.
Yeah. Throw in the Hawkeyes, and you have a perfect storm of your father-in-law.
Yeah.
I think if you like, you're going out of your way to be a dick if you want to like the Packers and the Cardinals. That's just my opinion. Your father-in-law doesn't listen to this, right? Because I really like him.
No, I don't think so. So McMahon, when he came in, he brought in his beer. He was a BYU grad. His eyes are light sensitive. They said he accidentally stabbed himself in the eye with a fork when he was a little kid.
I thought his brother did it.
Maybe that's what it was.
Someone stabbed him with a fork as he was a child, so he's always had these light sensitive eyes. The thing is McMahon hated DITKA most of the time. Like, they kind of had this father rogue son relationship. So they'd fight on the sidelines, and that was fun. Like, they were just a fun team. You could tell that these were the guys who, after work, you go get a beer with them. And I think that's why not only Chicago, but a lot of America embraced them. And the only loss they had that year was to those fucking Dolphins, who my father-in-law loves. So don't think I hear about that all the time.
It felt like that DITKA and Jim McMahon were kind of bipolar a little bit, or they're like playing this, like they're playing multiple games while they're playing the football game. Like McMahon, yes, and McMahon would like change plays during, like he'd be like DITKA would tell him to play, be like, I'm gonna go do a different play just to mess with him, or just to
mess with them. I mean, DITKA was the only coach I know of who got a DUI on his way home from a game.
Yeah. So how would you like to be that cop? You're like, you gave DITKA, like you live in Chicago. You just got, and you pull over Mike DITKA. You give DITKA his DUI, and you have to go to court for Mike DITKA. You're like, you fucking arrested Mike DITKA?
Yeah, but in 85, what's a DUI? Like $100 fine and kiss a baby? I don't know. I mean, it wasn't the same.
Well, it wasn't like the whole team got DUIs like the Cardinals, so whatever.
I'm gonna limit my comment.
That's fine. That's all we got to say. So he never slid feet first, McMahon. He always hit other teammates with his head, like when they did well. He just made like if they made a catch or did an awesome block, he'd go over and headbutt them in the head. Like that was his deal. Like he would put his body on the line.
Where's that gotten him?
He probably can walk about 100 yards a day. That's probably where it's at, and that's probably as far as he can remember where his house is at. So that's good.
So I guess this is the part of the show where we talk about the badness of football.
Okay.
So I came home from work today, and Jake's watching this show that he found on Netflix called Friday Night Tykes.
Oh.
And it's about
little kids
in Texas playing football. And Jake's like, I'm so glad I never want to play football. Like, these kids are out there just killing themselves already. And football obviously can be bad for people playing it. And it is being proven more and more on a weekly basis, unfortunately. Because basically it's always been the equivalent of, they've always said it's like you're in a car wreck every week, just the way you slam your body. But now with your head, if you watch the recent movie Concussion, which I did,
tell the truth.
It was a pretty good movie. I think it was better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I kind of felt like it was going to be movie of the weekish, but actually it was okay. It was like pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, the way it was filmed has a Moneyball feel to me. I'm not different subject matter, different thing, but just the way the story played out felt very Moneyball-ish. I really enjoyed it, but it's sad, and we're seeing people retire earlier and earlier. Calvin Johnson, one of the best receivers in football, supposedly is retiring this week at the age of 30, leaving $45 million on the table because he wants to be able to remember spending that money.
We're not $10,000 a night. It's gone. Yeah, it just feels like we did have a Death in Bear Nation, but I think specifically they've got an ESPN special just about Jim McMahon, and he talks about like not knowing where his keys are, not knowing his address, like having to have his girlfriend's phone number written down like in his wallet. So he'd be like, call this person if you're lost. So he go, okay, I'll call this person. Like it is definite problems with him. And then he's sued the NFL, and other people have sued the NFL just because they thought they knew the risks and they didn't let the players know. I think some significant studies need to be done about like rugby and Australian rules football, because the concussion levels they hit each other just as hard, but the concussion levels are significantly lower. I think, honestly, get rid of the helmets. Because, I mean, everyone goes head first as hard as they possibly can. And that's, I mean, when you're playing, when you and your friends playing tackle football, you don't run head first. You run chest first.
Thoughts on helmets, Michael?
No, the rugby point's a great point. Is the fact that, it's still a brutal sport. I mean, it's more real football without pads, just like backyard. But to your point is excellent. And when we played as kids, it was all you did was you just tried to grab somebody, bring them to the ground. You weren't launching yourself. You have a feeling of, I played football when I was younger, and when you put that helmet on, you have a feeling of I can't be hurt. I've got this. I'm protected. In actuality, it's just more like a rind for your melon.
Yeah, well put. My theory is that within 10 years, and I didn't just come up with this top of my head. I've read several different things about this. Within 10 years, high school football will be no longer in the form that we know it as. High school football will be like a privatized situation where there are camps and league, kind of like basketball is.
AAU style.
Yeah, AAU basketball, that companies like Nike and Reebok, they sponsor these leagues. And I think that's how football is going to have to go. I mean, there was at least 11 high school deaths this year I read about, and there could have been more on the football field or within hours of a high school football game.
Yeah.
Insurance dictates that schools will not be able to continue to afford this. I don't care how many waivers the parents sign or any of that. They're also going to lose people playing football. I know a lot of parents who have told their kids no more. I wouldn't let my kids play football at this point because, yes, they can protect them more and more as adults, but a lot of these concussions start when these kids are, 9, 10, 11 years old in Pee-wee.
That's a good point. And I had this conversation with my girlfriend not too long ago because we were talking about the movie Concussion and what, whenever I'm 41 now. When I started playing, I was 10. And there were you didn't have to have any specifications to be a coach. It was just a dad who volunteered to coach, went through some minimal first aid class at the YMCA where I played, and that was pretty much it. I mean, you just had to know. You didn't have to know X's and O's. You didn't know how to teach kids how to tackle. I mean, you just had to be able to explain to them the differences with offense and defense, and then some type of position coaching, and that was it. It was, all right, go hit that kid, knock him down.
Yeah,
and that was all it was.
You got to have a guy who's willing to wear those 2-snap shorts, those 2-snap shorty shorts. And then we have a clipboard and a mesh hat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking back to the times I played. I know that there were times that myself and my friends probably had some type of minor concussion after a practice or after some type of scrimmage. And, all we did was get up, shake it off, and move on. Without any – I mean, we didn't even know what concussions were as kids,
Right.
It was, my head's a little – I'm just a little wobbly.
You got your bell rung. Yeah. I just got his bell rung.
Yep, got his bell rung. Or, you get up and you sit out a play and you go back in. We had no idea what it was. And, as, you progress through, maybe you have your coaches who've been doing it a little bit longer. They might be able to recognize those signs. But, it's not like they said, oh, you're going to have to sit out for a week. Just take the rest of the day off.
Right.
And then, go home, relax, come back tomorrow. And, after my education being in the healthcare field, you learn about these things and you're like, oh, wow. When you first start, learning
scary
about
stuff.
this thing, you're like, wow, that happened to me. That happened to me. That happened to me. So, yeah, it's very there's a very dark side to the sport that we all love to watch.
There's a famous concussion with Jim McMahon against the Lions where he goes out halfway through the game, but he's ready for next week. And then everything is like, yeah, I'm ready to play next week. Everyone's like, oh, he's got a slight concussion. He went out at halftime, but he didn't need to come back for the rest of the game because it was the Lions.
What about the game with the Packers where he got picked up and body slammed?
Yeah, it's like a lot of people, I ask you, why do you hate the Green Bay Packers? I have a reason that Charles Martin picked up Jim McMahon and threw him down, especially when you're a little kid. You're not involved with fights. You haven't been to junior high yet. Yeah, right. That is the most violent thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm like, Dad, how is this legal? How is this happening, Dad?
I ran upstairs, got my mom and was like, you got to see what they did to Jim McMahon.
Yeah, well, and that's a good point is, as kids, especially, growing up in the era where there wasn't lots of satellite TV or cable programming.
There's no MMA. That was the most violent thing I'd ever seen in my life.
I was going to say, that's our first introduction to any type of, I'm going to use the air quote, legal violence.
Yeah.
Even TV shows back then, there wasn't a lot. I mean, there was Dirty Harry, but after that, there wasn't a lot of true violence, what people are exposed to today. And it's just interesting to see how times have changed. Like my nephews, they're 17 and below. I mean, they're exposed to violence from day one on TV, video games. Their father's a huge sports fan, so I mean, we're always going to football games and such. So I mean, to them, it's really second nature. But for us, as I remember watching it at my grandma's house. I was like, "Whoa, what is this?"
So that's the downside.
That's the downside.
And Dave Duerson of the Bears did ultimately take his own life, shot himself in the chest so his brain could be preserved, which is a thing a lot of football players have done.
Didn't Junior Seau, didn't he do the same thing?
Yes, he
That's
did.
Correct.
And so, yeah, there's a lot more that needs to be done for football that made it this fun-loving game in the 80s to where we didn't really realize the effects of what we were watching. But we need to try to end this thing on a positive, fun note.
Bring it back around. We're bringing it back around.
So,
boomerang that.
what was the Bears destroyed everyone they played in 85, 86. That's why I think a lot of people around the country thought they were fun to watch because they just dismantled, including the Patriots in the Super Bowl. What made this team fun to you, Michael?
Well, I just remember whenever they did close-ups, you're just like, well, what's Jim McMahon going to do now? Is he going to stick his tongue out? Is he going to do something weird in front of the camera, like when he's sitting on the bench? And also the sweatbands. You remember the sweatbands?
Yeah, of course.
Because he wore the Adidas one, and then Walter Payton wore the Ruse one. Because he was a Ruse guy. He did commercials for Ruse tennis shoes. I just felt like this team was the biggest team in the history of anything. Just just the excellence they played on the field, but also just the huge personalities. They had a person on their team become a professional wrestler, Glenn. I didn't want to bring it up. But I mean, like any other professional team, like
he wasn't.
The mailman became a professional wrestler. Dennis Rodman was a professional wrestler for like 3 matches, but this guy he put in the time. I'm just saying.
He wasn't just professional wrestler. He was a member of the Four Horsemen, the most elite group in wrestling history.
But I'm just saying, like, this is the huge personalities. Like, there's no other team in history that had the. I mean, maybe, but even with Babe Ruth, that's just one player. I was thinking maybe like the '93 Phillies, like with John Kruk and Lenny Dykstra, and maybe even like the '04 Red Sox a little bit too.
Here's the thing. First, if you want to go see Mongo. He's sitting at his own bar in Romeoville, Illinois, open and close every day, getting hammered. Or on Mondays during the football season, you can catch him at Polecats.
That's the titty bar.
Yeah, in Chicago, he always does stuff.
Okay. The biggest team in Chicago sports history is the 1985 Bears.
Absolutely.
Will the world champion Chicago Cubs dethrone the '85 Bears as the king of Chicago sports?
Yes. Absolutely. Here's the thing. You can see orange-faced Mike Ditka on half the commercials in Chicago because he won a Super Bowl 1 year. He probably, if he was a better coach, would have won 2 or 3 with that team because it was one of the best defenses ever assembled. That's not me just saying that, statistically proven. But he kind of fucked it up. And they won 1 year, and he's still, Steve McMichael, still has nightly appearances in Chicago at strip clubs. I mean, these guys are all still on the radio somewhere. They're still doing TV based off of that one championship. If a Chicago Cubs team wins it, oh, my God, forget about it. The Bulls were great. The Bulls won 6 championships. These guys, Judd Bushler should be selling every used car in town just based on the fact he was on that team. But you never hear about these guys, like, with, outside of their own legend.
Luke Longley's at the mall. Let's go meet Luke Longley.
Right. Those guys should be everywhere. They won 6 motherfucking championships, and you'll never see them. But that 185 Chicago Bears team, because the Bears really are Chicago's sports team. They really are. But the Cubs are not just Chicago's. They're, because of WGN, they're everyone's. And they have such a huge fan base, and no one gives a crap about the White Sox except for like 5 square blocks on the south side. And no one really likes the south side.
And they're all cynics. They're all cynics anyway.
Yeah. The White Sox just love to hate the Cubs. White Sox fans just exist to hate the Cubs. So the fact is that when the Cubs win the World Championship, hopefully in the next few years, the way it looks, at least once, they will be the biggest Chicago sports team of all time. I mean, even the Blackhawks rose from
nothing
half capacity to 3 championships in the last 6 years, and they're loved. Don't get me wrong. People love the Blackhawks in that town, but they lose for 3 straight years. Blackhawks who? I mean,
yeah, I could see that. There was probably the biggest controversy involving the Bears winning the Super Bowl Walter Payton not scoring a touchdown and William the Refrigerator Perry scoring a touchdown.
It still makes me sad because he carried that to his grave. Now, I don't know if it must have been a Football Life on Walter Payton. I think it was NFL Films. I don't think it was ESPN. Walter Payton was kind of a shady dude there. Like, he left his wife.
He was a legitimate businessman.
Yeah, he left his wife, but yet she was like, when he got sick, she was taking care of him.
Came back to her, yeah.
But like, you don't want to remember sweetness like that. I want to remember sweetness as the guy who passed me on I-55 when we were driving back home from Chicago in his car with just the license plate 34. And when I waved, he rolled down his window and like gave my mom the thumbs up. Not me, my mom.
We've got a friend who worked at his roundhouse in Aurora.
Yeah.
And just hearing the story about him meeting him, like he was the valet and he went to open the door, but he had like a CD player or something in the door of the CD player and his headset was already on his head. So when the valet opened the door, he yanked the headset out of Walter Payton's head while he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Walter Payton. I'm so sorry." Yeah. So it's just there's like these legends. Like if you meet random people around the city, like I met Walter Payton once. I met Walter Payton. I'll tell you, you want to go over to this hill? We'll drive over to this hill. It's a golf course now, but I'll show you where the hill is at.
So, like, I mean, obvious, most athletes, they're just people, and they make the same mistakes everyone else does. But
unless you're Bernie Kosar.
Oh God. But there are, so many legends about the Bears, and they're so accessible because, like I said, they're everywhere. Still, 30 years later, the Bears are still all over Chicago. And you could live off that forever. DITKA has. So I think that's just a representative of how much they were Chicago and how much Chicago identified with them. And the rest of the nation, a lot of these guys aren't just in Chicago. Like you said, professional wrestling, DITKA's on ESPN every week. They were just fun, and I think they symbolize 80s, with their wacky clothes, their wacky hairdos, their sunglasses, their music videos. I think the Bears were the 80s football team.
I guess to me, here, I'll show you. I'm wearing the William the Refrigerator Perry. I got his G.I. Joe. It's under the stairs. There's a lot of shit in there. I was gonna get it, but things happen. What are you gonna do? To me, he was kind of like a caricature. He was kind of like a mascot on the field, especially for little kids. You're like, that's William the Refrigerator Perry. Look, he's a big kid. I'm a kid too. But just like you, I got the action figure. Like there was a phone number you could call so you could win the free action figure. But you could buy, if you buy one G.I. Joe, you could call and they're like, you win it on accident. But if you don't win it, then you have to collect up to 5 G.I. Joes, and then you send the sheets in, and then it comes to you in the mail. And this, much like Anakin Skywalker, took probably years in my mind to come to my house. I'm like, okay, we sent it away. 4 to 6 weeks. And, of course, it's like 6 weeks and 2 days when it gets there. I'm like, Mom, is it here yet? Mom, is it here yet?
I collected Kool-Aid points.
Yeah.
It's towards my Kool-Aid swag. So, anyway, we wanted to talk about the Bears just a little bit because they were fun. It's the 30-year anniversary last week of them winning. And now they didn't get to meet Reagan in the White House.
Because there's
Iran-Contra, was it, or something?
No, there's an unfortunate incident in Florida.
Oh, right. So Obama ended up having them over to his White House a couple years ago, and they got to all go meet him. And I thought that was pretty awesome. And even though DITKA is a huge Republican, and actually they tried to get DITKA to run against Obama in the Senate race, Obama's first Senate race in Illinois, which if you lived around here was kind of a big thing at the time. They shook hands and they had some fun exchanges at that meeting. You can find that video out there. I'm sure Michael, if it hasn't, we'll have it up on the face space.
Okay.
And I'll put it up on the Twitter. But yeah, so we just kind of wanted to throw it out there. It's to us, it's personal, but there's a lot of 80s in that, and they were a lot of fun. And we wanted to have some fun because then next week we're totally going to bring you down with the horrible incident.
Yes. 2 things. We've got wiffle ball coming up this weekend. Hopefully we bring
our annual pilgrimage to win the championship. We're the perennial second place winners every year.
Game 2 years in a row. Oh man, it's a lot more competitive than when we play in the summer. Me, Michael, and Glenn will all be there. The Panthers head coach, apparently he packed his Super Bowl. He packed his Super Bowl 20 ring for his trip to Santa Clara.
Yeah, he's got
he won't wear it against the Broncos in the Super Bowl, but he wants it nearby nonetheless.
Well, maybe he'll add another one. I guess.
Is there a team either of you guys are going for?
I mean, I'd love to see the Broncos win just for the Payton story. I think it'd be awesome. But realistically, I don't think they're going to. But I still have hope. You're a Payton guy, are you?
Yeah. I have to support the Broncos in this affair.
And there are a few Bears involved with the Panthers. Chico, as you mentioned, Ron Rivera, their head coach. Charles Tillman, I'd love to see him get a ring. Jared Allen, he wasn't with us very long, but I have that stupid Bears jersey of his. But I still want Payton to win. I want to see the story. I want to see the classic story.
I just think it'd be awesome to have his brother be the better quarterback because he's won 2
I think you're an asshole.
Do you think the Bears will win again in our lifetime, the Super Bowl?
Yeah, football's circular. I mean, once you make the playoffs in a year, football's a crapshoot. So I'm not saying it's going to happen next year, or I'm not saying they're building the team on their way. But yeah, at some point, the odds are with them that they'll win a Super Bowl.
Can you make a short list of teams that the Bears will definitely win the Super Bowl before?
The Lions.
I got the Lions on my list.
Dolphins.
The Buccaneers.
I got both teams from Ohio.
Yep. Buccaneers. I got the Raiders.
I got
the Titans.
Houston.
I got the Jets.
There's a lot. I mean, football is so weird. You never know. There could always be that one team out of nowhere who comes out and takes it all.
Oakland.
Real quick about the Jets. Do you remember? I just want to bring it up again. Jake J. You bet him, or he made the wager that if the Jets make it to the Super Bowl before it was like 2001, that he would drink his own pee.
Yeah.
And I think they made it to like the NFC Championship game or like the game right before the AFC Championship game.
Right. I remember that. Okay.
We're going to watch him. Also, Super Bowl 20 is available on the YouTubes.
All right.
Game I'm watching on Sunday.
All right. So, as always, like us on the Twitter, Awesome80s Pod, on the Facebook at facebook.com/Awesome80s. You can circle us on the Google Plus, and then you'll get cool little updates every time we're going to do a show. That's google.com/plus Awesome80s, spelled out. Like this on the video and subscribe on YouTube. Please do that. We like to have subscribers on YouTube. We'll eventually get some cool YouTube address or something. As always, shout out to the Talon and the Spider, MH right here. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, Doiner, Bobby Joe, Tom S.
Art.
Keep going.
Art.
What? Oh, whatever.
Thank you, Doiner. I don't know. It's Art.
So we have next week, Space Camp, next Friday afternoon. Or if you can't watch it live, it'll be on YouTube's and then the audio released within the next couple of days. Hopefully by then we're hosting a wiffle ball trophy. So if we win that trophy, do we at least get to have it for a few days? I mean, I know you're going to like do things to it.
What do you mean we? What do you mean we?
Well, like the Bloomington faction.
Well, how about I keep it till WrestleMania?
That's fine. We can have a schedule. I just don't want it all the time. I know it's going to live in your house.
Okay.
But just
before you Andre it, we'd like to have it.
Yeah. MH and I, like when we win trophies like this, we like to take them to on a bar tour. One bar.
This one.
And it's been a long time. All right. So Space Camp and the unfortunate incident coming up next Friday, 2 p.m. Central Time. And like I said, if you can't watch it live, it will be categorized on the YouTubes and on the iTunes forever. After that, The Princess Bride, date to be announced, coming up soon, and then some goodness to end out the month. And Michael, stay awesome.